To me, I want to live a life of purpose. I want to live it full out. That means I'm taking on new adventures and challenges. It also tells me, shit, my life's really busy. Like I'm going to be really busy.
Well,
with all
the
this
crazy
money.
thing about these questions is it's like a personality. Like there's tons of personality tests out there, but when you really look at the answers of how you're answering this tells you a lot about who you are.
Right.
Right. Like, are you a person that seeks
Are you a
comfort?
pleasure seeker?
Yeah. Like, and when you identify that can probably give you some insight of what may be not working really well in your life right now.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Push Podcast. I'm Janelle.
And I'm Eddie. How's it going?
It's going well for me.
Yeah,
how about you?
It's going fantastic. Excellent.
Awesome. Well, this is episode...
Stupendous.
And do you have more?
Yeah. Extraordinary.
Tell me when you're done. Done?
Yes, I'm done.
Okay. Welcome to episode number 82 of the Push Podcast. Today we're going to be talking to you about your hopes, dreams, and ambitions. And just a little backstory.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Should we stop and re-record this?
No.
Okay,
I'm just saying.
Go.
But first,
I am done speaking.
Before you jump in, you have a very specific what in the world. Like
I do?
Yeah. So
you keep choosing my what in the words for me.
Because you live this fantastic, exciting, spontaneous life. And mine is pretty dull. Like I just kind of go and do the same.
By the way, I've been telling Eddie, you guys, like you go to work and you have coworkers and you're around people and you hear stories and you share memories with people. And I don't, because I work from home. So I have myself and whatever I happen to come across that inspires me. So I'm feeling a little desperate right now for inspiration. Anyways, with that said, what's my what in the world?
Well, I rushed home because you had rattled the beehive. And so it was so funny because we had a bee infestation or a swarm of bees. I don't know what you call it, but
you want me to tell the story?
Yeah, tell the story.
So I have been recovering from surgery. Today I deemed would be my first kind of day back sitting, working at my desk. So I'm sitting there in the dining room, which is connected to the living room. And all of a sudden I hear bzzz, like it's getting louder and louder. And so like I turn around and there are two ginormous bees buzzing around in my living room right next to me. By the way, I am deathly allergic to bees and I am looking down the barrel of life and death, right? And so I like jump up, which I'm not supposed to be jumping, and I grab my notebook and I start chasing these bees down, and I kill them super fast, but because my life was in danger, right? And they were huge. And so I go get a napkin and I'm like, how the hell did these bees get in here? So I run through the house, like checking every bedroom to see. I'm even looking in the corner of the screens to see if there's a hole, because how did these two big ass bees get into my home, right? And so I'm like, okay, well, my kids are in their rooms on Zooms. They said that they didn't have their windows open. They were like, how did bees get in here? Don't know. So I sit down and I'm like, that was so weird. So I start typing again. All of a sudden, bzzz, and I hear one hit the glass back door. And I'm like, son of a bitch. Like, where are they coming from? So now there's three more.
Right.
And I'm, again, up, hitting them with notebooks, trying to kill them. So I kill them and I'm like, okay, I have to find the source of this problem.
Yeah. So
then all of a sudden I turn around and I see three of them shoot from the fireplace and they're coming in and I'm like, girls. So I call the girls and I'm like, there's bees coming from the fireplace. We need to act right now. So Jordan freezes. She's not going to be good in an apocalypse, right? She goes, I'm like, I'm the one that's definitely allergic. You're yet to be determined. So go outside and get a trash bag.
She has assumed because you are allergic that she's allergic.
She's allergic. So I tell Kayla, go outside and get a big black trash bag. Jordan, get the scissors. I'll grab the tape. So we start just literally making this whole bag situation and tape situation to go over the fireplace. Okay. So we cover it, and all of a sudden, while the three of us are trying to cover the big hole in the fireplace, the bees are going against the trash bag from the inside, and the sound is now roaring. Like, it's so loud. They're buzzing. It sounds like there's thousands of them in. Like, it was like from 0 to 100 real quick, right? And so then we're like, this isn't enough. So I go outside. There's a big piece of plywood. Get the plywood, bring it in. We're going to board this sucker up.
Mind you, the plywood is like 8 feet long.
Doesn't matter.
It's too
My
heavy
life was in
for
danger.
these children.
So then they come back in and they're like, Mom, it's too heavy. I'm like, oh, you're weak. You're not even ready for this apocalypse. So then we start tearing up boxes and we makeshift a bunch of stuff. And so right now, as we speak, it's duct taped to the tile. The fireplace is completely closed off, and I am telling you, like, they were swarming and like gathering and poking against not only the trash bags, but then the cardboard, and you can hear it. It was so freaking loud. So I call Eddie. I had called you before that, and then you didn't answer, and I called you again, and I said, it is an emergency.
You said, we have an emergency. And you know, when someone says this is an emergency, the first thing you're like, oh my God, what are they going to say next?
I
right?
Said,
and so
this is an emergency. I need the contact information.
We have bees flying in our house. And I go, what in the world? We have bees. Yeah, there's like 8 bees I just killed. And I'm like, oh my God. So obviously...
okay, wait. After we taped up just the trash bag, they were still escaping through the tape. And so then that's when I was like, we need plywood. So anyways, my kids are too weak. They wouldn't be able to help me in a zombie apocalypse. And I wasn't willing to bust my stitches to bring it in. So anyways, I called you only for the exterminators information, and they're not able to come because apparently it's bee season. So our exterminator that we used to have for the Cake Mamas says, I can come tomorrow morning. I think they're just kind of moving through your neighborhood.
Like
it's springtime. This and I said, no, I don't think you understand. They're knocking on the cardboard from the inside of the chimney, right? And he said, well, let's hope that it's not, let's hope it's only like 500 of them. I said, yeah, that sounds like a solid 500. He goes, let's hope it's not 5,000.
That would be interesting.
He said, but let's really hope that it's not 5,000 bees in there.
50,000.
Oh, yeah, 50,000.
And when you told me that, I was like,
what?
I was like, I don't know what 5,000 bees look like. I definitely don't know what 50,000 bees looks like.
No,
and so
it's death.
And if it had 50,000 bees, there's no surviving it. I think
so. Jordan
whether you're allergic
immediately,
or not, done.
When she saw 3 of them, she was like, "We're tenting the house and we're gonna blow it up. We're moving. Like, we can't live here anymore." So that was a huge fiasco that happened today. Now, though, it's been several hours, and sure enough, I think Tim was right. They kind of like were just looking.
Yeah,
for
so I rushed home and I was
infest.
like, okay, well, I'm sure she's jumping up trying to kill bees, and so if they keep getting in, I don't want you to hurt yourself. So I'm like, I gotta hurry up and get home so I can kill bees all night.
And I'll have you know, I protected our family, our land.
I protecting our family. But you know, I was like, hey, I'm asking people, I'm like, what are you doing as a bee infestation? Someone said, did you say something wrong about Beyonce? Did you shake the beehive? And I was like,
stupid.
No. What are you doing?
Ridiculous.
But
so we survived, and apparently it's a thing in springtime. So
close up your fireplace. Yep. If you have one.
I forgot to mention, we turned on the fire. We were like, burn those mother effers down.
You shouldn't say that. So we
turned on the fire.
Say that. We did not.
We did. I turned on the fire thinking it would stop them from coming in.
Bees are like protected species.
Honey, let me speak. And then after the fire went on, they started dodging the fire, and it got worse. So I was like, oh, we pissed them off. We gotta deadbolt this, put something up. So we survived.
Yeah. So
that's my what in the world.
PETA don't come after us. We were not.
I love bees. I love honey. Yes. But they also can kill me.
Yeah. So apparently when you have like a bee infestation, you are not supposed to kill them. You're supposed to safely have them removed. Okay. Because bees are important to our ecosystem.
This fool says,
this is a friendly
I said, reminder. I don't know. I feel like it kind of dissipated. He goes, did you get the queen? That's important. Did I get the queen? She didn't have a freaking crown on. I don't know if I got the queen.
Well, you said, I got one. There was a big one here. I was like, well, maybe you killed the queen, and they're freaking out.
The queen sits. I don't think she actually comes out and scopes the premises out. But I do know that at one point I screamed, "This is my house!" And I saved our family. Yeah. So you're welcome.
Because bees are very courteous to territory. When you say that, they go, "Oh, I'm so sorry for visiting. We're gonna go somewhere else."
So today we're going to be talking about hopes, dreams, and ambitions, and here's why. I recently chatted with one of our students. As you guys know, we teach a masterclass called Passion to Profit. It's for people who are makers, creators, starting up businesses who really want to lay a solid foundation for systems and processes and really learn the science behind marketing and branding and sales so that they can turn their passion into a profit, right?
See what you did there? Perfect.
Okay. And so in April, we're going to be opening up enrollment for our 2021 session. And so if you are, one of those people that's looking to grow your business, we hope that you will go to JanelleCopeland.com and get on the wait list because space is limited. Anyways, one of our former students, Danira Cancinos, formerly of Danny's Dulce Confections. Danny and I had the opportunity to catch up recently. She went through our course over a year ago, and she said, one of the things that I got from your Passion to Profit course is you asked me questions that forced me to examine my life. It was the first time that I really had the opportunity to start dreaming bigger than like my circumstances. And I still got chills right now saying that. And so I thought that it would be a really great episode to walk you guys through some questions that you may, consider, but I guarantee you haven't baked out what your dream life could be like.
And, that's the thing that I think that's so important when you get into circles of individuals that are trying to grow and trying to progress, is that someone or maybe the group is asking questions that you're not asking yourself,
right,
that are forcing you to think about answers, to think about solutions, to think about other problems that maybe you want to solve in your life. And so I think these questions are to one, kind of awake that imagination. And we've done episodes before about being stuck. And a lot of times it's the right question that sparks an idea. And I call the hope the spark. Like when you get a glimmer of hope, you get that spark of inspiration to dream bigger. And I think when you talk about dreams, it's like a destination, right? When you hear these questions, a lot of these questions are a destination. It's what something's going to look like, what it's going to feel like to keep you going. And so hopefully we tap into that ambition a little bit.
So one thing I do want to point out, because we've been spending a lot of time on Clubhouse.
Yeah.
And, in working with these students that we work with for many years, I will tell you this: when you are a beginner starter business owner, you are most likely starting from a place of scarcity. You don't have a ton of money unless you're not really just a startup, right? You're starting off with limited funds, limited resources, limited knowledge, limited customers, limited exposure. You don't usually have a huge audience or people to market to, right?
Yeah, and can you break that down a little bit more? What is, when you come from a place of scarcity, what does that mean?
Meaning like you just want more. I just need more.
You only see what you don't have.
You only see what you don't have. And then also you are searching for how. How do I get more followers? How do I fix this? How do I get more customers? How can I get them to buy my stuff? And it's definitely like, I want you to ask yourself, if you're in those beginning stages, are you living in a place of scarcity right now where you don't have enough of everything? Knowledge, resources, friends to help you. I don't even have these questions. Like, I don't even have any idea where to find customers. I don't have enough money for my own household, let alone to invest in a course or whatever. Everything is about like not having enough. And then everything that you would ask someone would be how. Tell me how.
In the
you
resources,
just want the how and the fix, right? Yeah. Versus someone who has been in business for a lot longer learns the power of inspiration. So this is what I mean by that. You are no longer operating from a place of scarcity where you want everyone to tell you how to do things. You've now built the foundation of what works for you, what doesn't. You've learned a little bit of how to stay in your own lane. You've learned a little bit of resourcefulness, right? And you've learned some lessons along the way, like, well, good thing I didn't have all that money in the beginning because it forced me to find a workaround.
Right.
It forced me to figure things out. It forced me to be more tougher, right? So now I find that set of people at that stage in their business, they just need inspiration. They can be on a conference call or on a Clubhouse, and I can be talking about how to start a cake business, but because you've been in real estate for a while, some of the marketing tips that I share also apply to your business, right?
Yeah.
Or you can be listening to a real estate convention or conference on a Zoom, and you're like, immediately, I know how to implement that into my baking business.
Yeah, and I think that's so important, and there's something I want to just really touch on. When you talk about scarcity and that limited mindset of saying, I have limited resources, I don't have enough,
which I've been there.
What you do is you start to focus on what you don't have, not focusing on what you want to have, right? And so, like what we'll get into in this conversation is sometimes you don't ask yourself the questions about what you want. You sit there and you say, well, we don't have this and you don't have that, and I don't have this for my business and I don't have this for my business. That is not a way to fix a problem. That's a way to deepen the problem, to focus on the problem, because what you focus on most times you will get. And also, like when you were saying that, one of the things that I hear when you talk about the elevation of different levels of business owners is I hear, like, for me, I just need to hear what the strategy is,
right,
and then the tactics I can put together myself.
That's my
point. People are asking questions, trying to get tactical information. That's great, and some people can implement that. But a lot of times, when you want to get to a place in your abilities as an entrepreneur, where you hear an overarching strategy or a vision of how something's supposed to look and sound and feel, and you can go and put together the other pieces of that strategy, right, that may be missing, but also put together the tactics that the blocking and tackling, the basics that need to happen in order for it to give you a result.
Right. So if you are, creating a business, I want you to identify what stage you're at. Are you at the stage where everything feels hopeless or desperate, like, you're just behind? And so just recognize I'm coming from a place of scarcity. The reason I want to bring that to your attention is because you can't build anything really great off of that. You have to just accept the fact that this is where I'm at. This is my current circumstance. It's not forever, but where am I trying to take this business, right? So that you can be inspired by other people versus being resentful or trying to figure out how they got there, right?
No author ever writes a book saying, I don't have enough words for my book. They write a book with an intention to say, I'm trying to tell a story.
Right.
And think about it like that. Like, if you're thinking, whether you have a business or you don't have a business, if you're constantly thinking about what you don't have enough of, you're never going to fill the book. You're never going to paint the picture. You're never going to actually finish the story.
Right.
And so I think that looking forward, having vision, I think is so important.
So even if you don't have a business, this episode could be life altering for you.
Right.
And here's why. Without a business, let's just say, you might still be operating from a place of scarcity, meaning, and we've been there for a very long time, meaning I make enough money to get by, I pay my bills, I just got to take care of my family, and as long as we're happy, we're good.
Yeah.
And that's great. You should find fulfillment and contentment where you're at, but you should also know that it's a temporary circumstance. And it doesn't mean that you have to stay there forever, regardless of how grim or dim your situation looks, right? So today's episode hopefully will inspire you to think a little bit differently about where you're trying to go with your life, not where you are currently.
Yeah, and I think when you are focusing on where you're at currently, or maybe you're not even appreciating where you're at currently, maybe you may be at a place in your life where it actually is great, but you don't see it because you have that poverty mindset, or like I've heard before, Jim Rohn said, the language of the poor. Mm-hmm. And that's not for, like, from a standpoint of like being actually poor. It is a mindset that you talk about your life, you think about your life from a poor standpoint. And so a synonym for a scarcity mindset would be a poverty mindset, mm-hmm. where you're constantly thinking about the fact that you don't have enough. And so hopefully these questions kind of get you to a place where you start to have wealthy conversations with yourself and wealthy types of questions to help you really move past where you're at now and get you to a better place.
Right. So February 21st, we woke up, we were getting ready to go to the gym, and I had a thought, and it was all of these life questions because I had my conversation with Danny prior to that. And I thought, what are the questions that help you define clearer vision for where you're trying to go? And I think clarity is a really important thing for you to think about. This isn't one of those episodes where you're just going to listen while you're out walking around, because I'm going to fly through a lot of these questions, which there are nearly 90 of them. A lot of them are in the same kind of category, but I want you to think really, really deep about everything that I'm asking you. So I'm going to recommend that you go to janellecopeland.com and, click this sheet to be able to download. These are not just questions that you want to talk to yourself about, but these are questions you should sit down with your spouse so that you both know where you're trying to go in life, with your children, all of the stuff, with your finances, right? So we're going to cover all the categories of life. So let's kind of dive in. What was I telling you before we started? I was telling you that this was important because I think when you're young, people ask you, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? Where do you want to go away to college? We're having lots of really life-changing conversations with our young teenage kids right now. But I think after you're done with college, people stop asking you those questions. They stop asking you about your life dreams and, God, where do you see yourself 5 years from now? That's like a very basic, generic question.
Right.
It might give you the opportunity to say, God, 5 years from now, like I hope to be in a better situation, but it doesn't really give you a lot of clarity for what you could be feeling right now, so that way you can work towards that.
Yeah, I think that what has happened, especially in the kind of the society we are in right now, where the idea of a dream doesn't sound realistic. The idea of a dream is it's better played out in the imagination, the fantasy of your mind. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's in the cards for me.
Right.
Right. And then we'll talk about in another episode what that really means, to say that I don't feel deserving of the dream that I want, because maybe subconsciously you think that, hey, having a multi-million-dollar home, and I'm not talking about materialistic thing, I'm just talking about the freedom and the options, right? Because wealth is about options,
right?
And having the option to say, if I wanted to buy that home, if I wanted to buy that car, if I wanted to travel for 6 months and not worry about a thing, like, do you think you're even deserving of those things?
Well, those seem so unrealistic if you're really struggling to get by, right? So for a moment, I want you to take this downloadable copy of questions that we're going to go through with you right now. And we're going to kind of give you some of our commentary and things that stood out to us as well. And then I want you to just dedicate an hour, get yourself a little notebook, which is what I have, and just answer these questions so that you can feel hopeful for your future versus stuck in your current situation if it seems kind of bleak. So for a moment, let me just ask you, if you woke up tomorrow and money was not an issue, what would you do with your life each day? So most people can answer this question pretty easily, right? But like at the basic level. So, oh my God, I'd quit my job because I hate my boss, right? I'd buy a house immediately because I'm tired of renting, right? Or I'd buy a bigger house. I'd travel the world. I'd help my family. What are some things that come to mind for you, any?
Well, yeah, those are all the things that I think that most people, it's like the lottery questions. If I won the lotto, I would, change my life.
I'm flying to such and such tomorrow, right?
And so, and I know that is sounds like so basic, and you've probably even uttered those same words. I know I have. I know everyone has said, oh, I wouldn't do this anymore. But the reality is that if that's the case, then you're not in a pursuit of what you think currently right now, what would make you happy or bring you fulfillment, right? And so let's just be honest in that area, because I know it's a basic thing that people ask themselves that, but right in there, you're already identifying that I'm not doing what I truly believe that I should be doing.
Right. So let's figure out how to drastically change your life now that money's not an issue, right? Okay. So I'm saying tomorrow morning you wake up, your bank balance in your bank account has $10 million in it. That's game-changing money.
Yeah.
Okay. For most people. Yeah, I mean, you're like, oh, no, I'd want more. 10 million. It's 20 million. $20 million is in the bank. Whatever. Right? Okay. So let's start with day one. Here are the questions. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So what time do you wake up? How do you wake up? Do you wake up with an alarm clock to a certain sound? Is it to the sunlight? Do you wake up with the sunrise? Where in the world do you wake up? Is it in a bedroom, Are you on a bed? Is it in like a certain type of environment? Are you outside? Some people really love nature. They're like, I'm in a tent or I'm in a bungalow in the middle of some mountain. Like, really think about this is your dream life.
Right.
So every day, I think if I'm rich, I'm going to wake up when my body tells me it's time to wake up. I hate the sound of an alarm. And the thing is when I have nowhere to go, I wake up early.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's true. And for me, like I like getting up early and I like exercising. So I would wake up and I would get up and I would exercise, and I would probably need an alarm because my wife likes to stay up late. And so I would stay up late to spend time with her. And so now I'm sleep deprived, but rich.
All right. So that was the next question. Who's around you? Like you're around me.
Right.
Okay. So you wake up a little earlier than I do. I wake up when my body tells me to. When I wake up, maybe you're not there. I don't know. Are you off in, what are you doing?
Surfing.
Okay. Well, we are in a beach house. So you're right. You could be outside surfing. Okay. So let's go. What does the house look like? Is it a house? What's the furniture look like? What does the curtains look like? Do you have shutters, shades, blinds? Is it just a huge, window? All the details as you make your way through this house or whatever it is, like really paint that picture of what that feels like. It's good to close your eyes and kind of imagine this.
And the reason why I think that's so important too, that people should capture, the reason why we're talking about like these details is because what you're trying to build in your mind is you're trying to build the constructs of this reality so that you can manifest it, so that you know when you've actually been there. Because more times than not, people are unhappy these days is because what they dreamt about, they forgot and they actually have it.
Right. So I want you to write down the answers to this. Next thing, what kind of cars are in the garage? Do you have a 5-car garage? Is it a 3-car garage? What kind of cars are in the garage? How many cars? Who do they belong to?
Right.
Right. And then importantly, what do you do today? Do you have a schedule? Do you have somewhere to be? Is someone waiting on you? Is it a boss? Is it a coworker? Is it a family member? Is it kids? Do you need to commute somewhere? Do you get in one of those cars and you go like off on, I don't know, some sort of day trip?
Right.
How far are you commuting? How do you get there? Like, is it an electric car? Do you need to stop and get gas? How do you feel during the commute while you're driving? That's important to write down, because if your dream car, let's say, is some amazing Tesla, let's just say, do you feel good like you're saving the environment because it's electrical? Do you feel like you've accomplished something, you've done something? Like, what do you feel? Because it's important, not from a materialistic standpoint, to identify like I feel accomplished or successful, but those are like senses and emotions that we want you to channel during these experiences,
and,
right?
Yeah, and to get to the question for me, like I enjoy working, right? I enjoy creating, I enjoy leading, I enjoy the things that I do, and so I don't necessarily see myself like quote unquote retiring when it comes to like wealth. And I know people say that they will retire and do nothing, but when I just imagine doing nothing gets old real quick.
Okay.
Right.
So what do you have to do? Right. Don't answer this, but like ask yourself, like I woke up, I've got tons of money in the bank. What do I have to do today? And what do you want to do? So those are two very different things. What do I have to do today? Like that means what did you commit to?
Right.
And what do you want to do? Because one of the things is like you have to identify, like, am I going to be spending 99% of my life seeking pleasure if now I don't have to worry about earning an income? Just something to hold on to. Don't answer it. Okay. Now, moving on. Who are you dating, or who are you in a relationship with? Are you married? What does that relationship do for you? How do you feel in that relationship?
That's a big one.
Why?
Because I think people think that money
fixes... The playboys want to be single?
No, I think people think, even though they won't necessarily articulate it, they believe that money will fix their relationship. Like their relationship struggles because of finances.
Right.
And the reality is that the relationship doesn't struggle because of finances. Because it doesn't struggle because of finances, it's because of something else. But finances is what reveals the struggle.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that's important, because when people think about, oh, I'll have the $20 million, our marriage will be better, or my boyfriend or girlfriend or whoever it is will appreciate me more because we won't have to worry about money.
So here's the next question.
Yeah.
What do they do all day? Because if we're rich and we're married, and I have this idea of what I'm going to be doing, don't you think we should talk about it?
Right.
Because what will you be doing? Like, maybe your idea of wealth is like off jet setting. And for me, it might just be like, I want to do yoga in my home studio gym every day. Like, I don't know. That's why we're asking these questions.
In cargo pants and boots and in Africa feeding the poor.
Right. And we can do some of that. We just got to decide, like, what does it look like?
Right.
This conversation is about unpacking all of this, right? Here, let's move on to your kids. So imagine all of your kids and all of the people that you're responsible for, they're all taken care of. Tuitions are paid. Mm-hmm. Your kids can be in the best private schools if you want. Mm-hmm. Do they go to public school? Do they go to private school? When our kids were smaller, if we came into money, I might have said maybe we should consider private school, but they got a good education.
Right.
Your kids' college is already taken care of. Wherever they want to go in the world, they can go. Do you get them into Ivy League schools? Do you use your money like Lori Loughlin and Felicity Huffman? Don't do that. You'll go to jail.
Or maybe you say, hey, I'm going to give you a one-time investment. I want you to start this business you've been thinking about. So this hobby turns into something that can be a passion.
So think about your kids. Like, where do they go? What do you do? Do you try to do things to enrich their lives? What about extracurricular activities? Do they take guitar lessons, piano lessons? Is music really important to your family? So now you're going to like spend tons of money to make sure that they get excitement around that stuff?
Right.
Are they in gymnastics, which could lead them to the Olympics maybe? Are they taking acting and singing lessons because now maybe you want to give them skills to help them pursue their own wealth when they get older?
Right.
So is it sports? Are you involved in tournaments? Do you spend more time because your kids are smaller? Now you're the PTA mom. Nothing wrong with that. And what is everyone doing that they're enjoying if money was not an issue? I remember when our kids were really young and they were in gymnastics, that was around the time we lost everything and had to kind of pull them out, and it broke my heart. And I remember telling my cousin, like, I need money now. Like, I won't need it when they get older. I'll have figured that out already, but I don't want to rob them from these little childhood memories that I have built in my head. Like, I want them to be able to take piano lessons and gymnastics. And I'll just tell you, they didn't do a lot of that and they survived, and they are good kids. So if you're in the same situation we were, my heart goes out to you, but just know that you can still do a great job and your kids will be fine, because I survived without it.
Yeah. And just to add a little bit to that, and maybe not doing something that or maybe you're not doing something that you enjoy, so to speak, but it's something that is making you better.
Right.
It's something that is, because the thing is that...
Don't go too far with that.
Me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because we're not there yet.
I won't go that far.
Okay. Moving on. So who do you have access to? This is a big, important question. I always felt like I was kind of like on the outside of the cool kids club. I wasn't a big athlete. I didn't, I wasn't a cheerleader because I had to work, right? So who do you have access to now? Who's in your inner circle? Are they advisors? Are they experts, doctors, lawyers, scientists? Do you hang out with world travelers, thought leaders, people that you admire on social media? Like, what does your inner circle look like?
Yeah.
That's good, right?
I think that's huge. And I think that inner circle is going to be a big part of whether you're able to keep that wealth or build it or do something with it.
See, but some people might not be thinking about that. You just might want to hang out with like some person that you idol, and you're not thinking about continuing to generate more wealth. That's where your brain goes. Your mind goes to, how do I maximize this? How do I turn this into generational wealth? How do I, and mine does too.
Right.
But if you're listening to this and your brain doesn't go there, that's the point of this episode, is that maybe now with all these questions, you can realize maybe I'm thinking really small, right?
Yeah. And I will tell you, it will be nearly impossible to hang out with people that of considerable wealth that they built themselves and not be inspired to build your own wealth or to build on that. Like they're not going to be talking about leisurely things. They're going to be talking about the next thing.
But maybe people don't know that.
Yeah.
Like, so if I'm broke right now and I haven't really hit it big, I don't really know what it's like to make a really, really good living yet. Right. And so I'm just trying to get by. And now you just put $10 million in my bank account. I'm not really thinking that I need to hang out with people and be able to contribute to the conversation. I might just be like, cool, I want to hang out with such and such, Khloe Kardashian, because she looks cool on Instagram. And now we're friends because we're at the same party, which is my next question. You get invited to all the right places. What do those events look like? Who's there?
Right.
So think about it. If I'm a makeup artist listening to this right now and I love doing makeup, I'm not thinking about generating, creating generational wealth. I'm thinking about it'd be really cool to go to a party with the Kardashians because they have great makeup and other people there might be looking for a really cool makeup artist that could have makeup conversations. The point of this is that you're not thinking too small or too big. I just want to know where your thoughts go. Make sense?
Right. Yeah.
Because your brain goes to how do I make more of it, right?
Well, it goes to like the ideas and the things that they may be talking about that at the current level I am at right now as an entrepreneur or as a human being, I may not be asking those questions. Right. I may not be thinking about those opportunities that may open up. And so that circle is going to definitely enlighten me on different things to be thinking about.
Right. So those are probably two of my favorite questions. Who's in your inner circle? And if you got invited to all of the right places, where are those places? What do they look like? Because again, back to the makeup artist, if you are now hanging out with all of these people, you're rich, they're rich, it's great. What does that do for you though? What do those events look like? Do you gain any new friendships? That could be catty, that could be drama. I don't know, maybe that's what you like, right?
Yeah, I mean,
then peel that back and ask yourself, am I watching drama on TV? Because maybe that's the kind of life that now you want to be a part of versus you want to hang out with, stoic people and I do too.
No, but I
don't want to like shame anyone for where their thoughts are going.
I will tell you this, like, it's really important if you're really answering these questions honestly. If you are not seeking those individuals out right now, you won't when 20 million or 30 million hits your bank account. Right. So it may be after asking these questions, it may make you rethink about those things, but just think about it now. Like, one of the things I heard is that when people get money, it doesn't change them. It makes them more of what they already
amplified.
Are.
Yeah.
Right?
It amplifies who you are.
And so I just want this to stop. I'm not a person that really reaches out to grow a huge network. I don't think that if we had $1 billion that I would necessarily be active in doing that.
I didn't give you $1 billion. I gave you 20 million.
Oh, well, 20 wasn't enough. So, but that would be something that I would have to make that mental shift now in order for me to really start to think about that when that,
Right. So that's the point of this is like, yeah, these questions are fun, but they're not just supposed to be fun. They're supposed to be thought-provoking so that way you can think like, is there some truth to the fact that if I say that I want this, I actually am already pursuing this? Great. Clap for yourself, right? Here's the next one. What's your health look like? And this leads me into what you're talking about. Like, I wouldn't really reach out to some of these people. Well, what's your health look like? Thinking of Janelle, rich ass Janelle. I have a really banging body. I'm just going to tell you, right? So who do you have personal chefs, personal trainers? Yep. Got all of them.
Got all of that.
Yep. You know what though? They follow my recipes for the most part.
Right.
And I just don't want to have to clean up. So yeah, I have personal chefs to make me healthy meals all the time. They're not making me lobster mac and cheese. They're making me meals that are fueling my body so that I can be in the best shape of my life, so that I can be off, trying freaking martial arts and all of this other crazy stuff that I don't really have time for right now. So like those are the things that open up for me. Yes, I've got the personal chefs, and yes, I've got a personal gym in my compound somewhere. But my gym looks kind of like Kevin Hart's gym.
Yeah. Oh, mine's like the
opens
Rock.
Up.
Mine is like the...
You have like an iron palace or something?
Iron palace.
Paradise.
Paradise. But here's the thing. If you didn't ask that question most people, when they think about getting a large sum of money, do not think about the fact that they want to change their habits around their health.
That's why you have the Push podcast.
Right. And so that's what's so important about that, because remember, you're going to become more of what you are. So if you are a pleasure seeking person who looks for pleasure in food,
who eats a lot of comfort food,
who eats a lot of comfort food, maybe you eat out of emotion, you're going to have a lot of emotions when you have money. Yeah. You're going to have family, friends, all these different people coming after you, which may make you eat. Or let's just say you travel a lot and you just are going for the most fantastic restaurants. That $20 million may also mean that you gain 10 to 100 pounds.
Right. Okay. Right? So next question, how do you feel about your body? Remember, not right now. How do you feel about your body? You have $20 million in the bank. How do you feel about your body? This is an important conversation. So are you going to enhance it? Maybe you want a boob job. Mm-hmm. Maybe you want lipo, whatever it is, pec implants if you're a guy. Do you get Botox or other cosmetic surgeries? Where do you go for this? What doctor do you use? Those are fun things to
I didn't
think
know
about.
that they do pec fat removal for men. I've just seen that on TikTok.
That
I was like, whoa.
Okay. So think about your body, think about your health, think about what you do, because that's going to play into where you're spending your time in a day when you're waking up, right? So for us, I'm like, well, shit, we still got to get up early then, because we got to get a workout in, and I got to eat healthy, and I want to take care of my body. So that was the shift that came for me, was I still have to actually do the stuff that I do right now in order to live my best life. Right. And I hope that this is triggering for some of you guys, because I want you to understand through some of these questions, you're probably already doing a lot of stuff that you want to do, but you're waiting for this dream life, and it's happening right now.
But
regardless of your circumstance.
I think you're right. But I also think that there's another group. So I think, we're not perfect, but I think we get up every morning conscious of how we're trying to improve ourselves from a physical standpoint, a mental standpoint, a spiritual standpoint. We are actively doing those things. And so a lot of the habits would transfer to a different place when it comes to economic growth. But I do think that people right now are not conscious of those things. And so when you think about them getting money, when you think about them doing all these things, they may not necessarily, their habits will stay the same that they have right now.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and that's so if you are write in their journal.
Exactly. So if you're not happy with the results you're getting from your body, or maybe your mental health, or maybe your spiritual health, or maybe just intellectually, you're not happy with those things, you got to check your habits, because even if you dream these things really well and you go after them, like if your habits are not right, you're not going to be living right, no matter what.
Absolutely.
Much money you have in the bank account.
So where do you travel? We said this earlier. Well, we said that we would travel if we had tons of money. And then I said, but where? We don't have a list. You should have a list of 5 destinations lined up that you're trying to go to. Why and where are they, and where would you stay? So let's unpack that.
Seychelles.
Are you staying at the finest beaches in the world? Are you going out in nature, the wilderness? Do you love the snow setting? Think about where you would travel.
Right.
Do you stay in 5-star hotels, resorts, houses, mansions, your friends' houses? Where do you stay? What do those look like? Envision them, right? How do you travel? How do you get there? Do you go by plane, by boat? Do you fly first class? Is it private jet? Do you fly your damn self? Right. I don't know. What kind of food do you eat while you're vacationing? Back to kind of your health. Do you dine at the nicest, fanciest restaurants, 5-star dining only? Do you order room service? Do you have a private chef? I think of my future body, and I'm definitely J-Lo, in my 50s to 60s. And I know that in order to have a body like that in my 50s to 60s, I have to be purposeful with that.
Right.
So I'm taking my chef with me. And my chef's going to tell me where all of the best restaurants are.
So that means it's a private plane. All this kind of goes together. You got to have a private plane. Yep. Right. There's 100%.
Okay. So, and I am going to the finest beaches, by the way. So
I think it's a private island.
So think about how would your food or your eating change, right? because that's really important. You can't do anything with $20 million if your health isn't a priority. If you didn't know that, I am telling you that now, so that way you can have some inspiration to really consider how you're showing up for your body right now. So let's get into some good stuff. What's the impact that you'll have on the world? Will you have an impact on the world? Have you maybe never thought about impacting your community? Maybe the neighborhood that you came from? Do you even care about any of that stuff? Do you hate the neighborhood you came from? So you're like, peace, I'm out, I'm traveling now? Or is it something now that you can give some consideration to? So do you donate time, money, both? To where? To your church, to the Red Cross, Black Lives Matter, or other social causes, UNICEF, the Humane Society? Like, how do you give back? Would you start to give back? Would you create your own nonprofit organization, charity? Who will you help? Friends, family, again, your community members, your city, your state? Those are all really important questions to think about, right?
Yeah, because when you die, you leave it all behind. You take nothing with you. And so what you do to impact lives is, to me, is the legacy. That's the important things. Like, that's the things that when people say, like, I want to live a life worth living, it's really about what you're leaving behind. And the only thing you can leave behind is your impact, your reputation, the legacy that you created. And so I think those things to me are important. Whether your name is mentioned, but the impact in which you meant to people lives on. So I think that's super important.
So here's some fun stuff. How does this open up hobbies or excitement around things that you never considered or imagined? So you asked me the other day, if we could do whatever we wanted, like hobby wise, what would you want to get into? And I said jiu-jitsu, like martial arts. And you said?
Boxing.
There you go.
Surfing.
Do you want to obtain your pilot's license? That's mine. Did you know that I want to do that?
Yeah, I do.
Learn how to fly. Do you take private lessons of any sort? Dancing, singing, guitar, whatever. Do you work with high-level mentors, like around, growing a business, or I don't know. Do you want to go to monk training? Whatever. A little bit back to
I definitely want to do what was it? The Shang.
You don't even know how to say it. You can't mention
Kung Fu. Yes,
it's not Kung Fu, but
it's not Kung Fu.
Anyways, so how do you move your body? What's your level of fitness, physical fitness? How do you exercise your brain? That's an important one. So we're talking a lot about your body, your weight, like, because obviously you can't do anything without being in decent shape, right? And is that a priority for you? Let's just be real.
It has to be.
But for you it is. For me it is. But it might not be for someone else who
here's the thing.
A lifetime of battling their health, right?
Right, yeah.
This might just be like, F it, YOLO, you're going to die anyway. So now I'm eating the best, food, richest food, whatever. We'll get to that. No shame here. So, but my question is, how do you exercise your brain? What will this life give to you? Does it give you access? Does it give you a new outlook? Does it give you a new reverence or passion for life? Whose respect will you have rightfully earned? Is it the respect of your parents, family members, previous professionals you worked with, motivational speakers, influencers, authors, TV production companies, magazine editors, bloggers, etc.? What are they publishing or writing about you?
Well,
that's a big one.
It's a big one, and it comes down to, are you living a life of adventure or a life of comfort, right? And so when you think about that, life of adventure it's a lot of work. It's a lot of different things. It's a lot of decisions you have to make. But it is, to me, it's living full out. And some people don't. Some people want to live a life of comfort. Right. I think that's
why we're asking these questions, right? To me, I want to live a life of purpose. I want to live it full out. That means I'm taking on new adventures and challenges. It also tells me, shit, my life's really busy. Like, I'm going to be really busy. Well, the
crazy thing about these questions is it's like a personality. Like, there's tons of personality tests out there, but when you really look at the answers of how you're answering this tells you a lot about who you are. Right. Like, are you a person that seeks comfort?
Are you a pleasure seeker?
Yeah. Like, and when you identify that can probably give you some insight of what may be not working really well in your life right now.
Right. So what does your portfolio look like? Do you have stocks, investments, IRAs, investment property? What do you own and where is it? who do you work with to help make these decisions or investments? Is it a real estate coach, an expert? Do you have a friend, a private firm? What do you do? What are your goals with these investments? So like Eddie said, I said, we want to create generational wealth that outlives our kids, but also makes an impact. That might not be something that you want to do, right?
Right.
So think about that. What subjects do you spend time reading on or learning about? Would you even spend more time reading or learning or trying to grow? As a matter of fact, how do you spend any of your time? Do you wake up with purpose? Do you wake up leisurely? Do you have things to do, or do you just take things minute by minute, day by day? Do you adhere to a schedule, or do you go with the flow? Is your day filled with activities? If so, what kind? What do you do each day? What things do you enjoy? Is it more like relaxing, lounging by the pool, watching TV, spending time on social media or with your family? Or are you like motorcycle riding, surfing, tennis, trying new sports? Who are you spending your days with usually? A lot of this stuff is stuff that we think that we know, but I think it's just really important to kind of write down the answers to a lot of these questions.
Well, like you said in the beginning, like this is to really get you to think bigger. And I think when you think bigger, I think that now you're able to sharpen with that vision of what you want for your life. And maybe you look at some of these things and you're like, hey, I don't need $10 million. A bank account right now that I have actually gives me the options of some of these questions. It gives me the ability to say, when I do take a flight, when I do go on a special, trip with my partner, maybe we can go first class because that would be wonderful to do that. Like those are things that you don't have to have $10 million to do. Those are things for you to aspire to say, hey, I'm going to save up for this because I like that idea. I like the idea of maybe we hire a chef. I like the idea of doing those things. And as you think bigger, then you start to think about everything bigger. And I think the reason why these detailed questions make so much sense is because when you can feel it, when you can have the modalities of like, what does it feel like? What am I wearing? How do I see myself? Right? I see myself and I'm lean, I'm in shape, I feel I'm effective, I'm fast, I'm all these things. Then it gives you something to aspire for, because we know when you ask someone, especially when we ask our students like what they want, that is a struggle. Right. And I think this kind of uncovers what you want. Now you just got to figure out how to get there, whatever that means is. Like I was on the bike today, the Peloton bike, and one of the things that's important is your output. So it's like a scale between 0 to whatever you can do. And it's like your wattage. And so you either turn up your cadence, right, and you pedal faster, or you turn up the resistance and
it's harder.
And you get harder. But that output's going to go up depending on how you get there. Some people need to turn up the resistance, right, to get the output. Some people need to turn down the resistance and pedal faster. It's just you're getting to the same place. Just your path is going to be different no matter what it is.
Right. Okay. Do you do any sort of rigorous learning? Do you continue your education? Do you obtain your master's or PhD? Do you study a new language? What do you do to improve your intelligence? Do you do anything to improve your intelligence? Are there skills that you're pursuing or building on? Like, are you taking cooking classes? Are you spending time gardening with a gardening coach? I'd love to have someone show me how to create a beautiful garden. Are you working on communication skills, persuasion, sales, psychology? Would you need a vacation from that life?
Right.
Like kind of future pace. After you see the $20 million in there, you go. Do you need a vacation from the life that you're creating?
And you go back to work and you
I don't know.
You don't have any money.
I don't know. What do you do then? Do you relax on vacation? Do you think? Do you replan? Do you re-strategize? Do you evaluate your life? What would you cancel, stop, or never do again? That's a question I ask myself once a quarter. So I feel really good about like, I'm just not going to do shit I don't want to do.
Right.
Within reason, obviously. What would you say yes to if you had $20 million in the bank? What would be the most exciting about each day? What would you be grateful for? What could you not live without? What would you hold near and dear to your heart? Who would you hold near and dear to your heart? How would you feel about life what are your emotions and your energy like? Are you relaxed? Are you anxious? Are you high strung? Are you charged? What do you feel like? Right. And then what would you want to create more of? Do you want to create more wealth, more accomplishments? Do you want more accolades? Do you want more recognition? Do you want more control over your emotions? What do you want more of? And then like, what bad habits do you have if you have tons of money? Because that kind of goes back to like, are you a pleasure seeker?
Maybe you now have a drug problem.
That would be all bad.
People get money. They go, well, yeah, let's do it.
What would be the first thing that you would work on yourself if all of a sudden you had a ton of money? And then the last question, what would people say at your funeral? About the life that you lived after you had all this money.
Oh, that Eddie was a good person until he got that $1 billion.
Because then I never saw him.
And then he was gone.
Right. And so think about that. What do your relationships look like? The people that you're connected to, what things are a priority? Because right now, if you ask people like, what do you value? Everybody says, I value my family. Really? Because if I gave you 20 million, you might have a laundry list of all the stuff that you want to do, but it might involve you leaving your kids home a lot.
Right.
Or I don't know. These are just really good questions, I think, for you to start to live in a state of an imagination. Pretend you're a kid. Pretend that your friends who love you are asking you, what is your dream life like? And I just hope this was inspiring.
And I think those last questions to me are the really big ones that you can answer now and truthfully, like how you are actually feeling about life now. Because I'm telling you, how you feel about life now, you will feel the same when you get $20 million.
Right.
You will find a way. If you're miserable now, you will find a way to be miserable with $20 million because that doesn't change.
Yep.
Right. And so those are things where you got to say, okay, how do I want to feel? Not how do I necessarily feel right now? And it just depends on your outlook.
And for me, doing this exercise reminded me to stay grateful for where I'm at today, because the reality is I do on most days get to wake up when I want to wake up, when my body wakes me up. I would probably eat avocado toast and fruit every day, which I do on most days. I would drink hot tea. I would light candles. I would meditate. I would pray. I would love my family. I would be in the moment. I would focus on personal development. I would try to have an impact. I would try to give back. I would talk about the things I'm passionate about. I would connect with people I think are doing better than me. And then it just like, for me, I almost started crying when I did this exercise because I was like, I'm literally living my best life right now.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that it's problem free.
Right.
But one of my things is I want to go for walks every evening after dinner with my family, like by the sunset. Well, I don't have a beach house right now, but we do go for family walks quite often.
Right.
So maybe I could do that more now. Right. And so I hope this episode served you. I hope that you take the time to really create and just live in imagination for what the life that you have the opportunity to live. I hope you'll lean into that, friends.
Yes. And push through. Have a good one.
See you later.